Hey, coach, man, what time is it?
Oh, Slim, you know what time it is. 6 o'clock, straight up and down. It's HomeSpun Sports with Coach John Montgomery. Sports talk with a twist of down-home wisdom. Welcome. We are so glad that you are here once again. You done tuned in to HomeSpun Sports. It's sports talk with just a twist of down home wisdom. I'm your host, Coach John Montgomery, and I'm right here in good old H-Town, Houston, Texas, with my ride or die, the last P in the shell, my shouting up, my man 50 grand. Slim, way up in Del City. What's up, dog? What's up?
More than 50, coach. 100 grand. I'm good. How you doing?
Oh, Slim, I'm taking care of business. Can't you see? Slim, I got to make it for you. I got to make it for me.
So what you saying, Pops?
Slim, we have work to do. So let's get right at it. Let's get right at it. Ladies and gentlemen, our very, very special guest for episode number 36 is a man that I have known almost 40 years. He was a terror on the gridiron. He was a scholar in the classroom. He has had experience in coaching at Power 5 National Football League. And now he is currently serving as the athletic director of Fresno State University. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please make welcome my good and dear friend from way, way back in the day, Terry Tumey.
Coach Montgomery, it's an honor.
Thank you for being on, Coach.
I don't think I've ever had an introduction that's smooth. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you, Terry, man. Appreciate you, man. Terry, man, let me tell you, man. I'm recruiting at Wichita State for Coach Willie Jeffries, and I'm looking at the film because Larry McGee loved Willie Jeffries, and we had good success recruiting Tulsa Booker T. Washington. And this defensive tackle, nose guard,
yeah,
man, Terry, soaking wet. What were you, man, about 215, 220?
I think you're absolutely correct. That's your scouting coming out right there. You knew exactly. I was about 215, 216 pounds. That's
man,
right.
Slim.
Playing nose guard.
Slim, let me tell you something. Hey, Terry Tumey was a rolling ball of butcher knives. Can I tell you?
Okay.
He was a terror. And Terry, you might not be aware of this. I was somewhere out there on the recruiting trail. I ran into a guy who you may know was a running back coach on Barry Switzer's staff, a guy by the name of Scott Hill.
Oh, I remember Scott Hill, of course, yeah.
And we were talking. We met in a restaurant, sitting there having a cup of coffee and talking about what we'd seen on the road recruiting. And he asked me, he said, "John, you go to Booker T?" I said, "Yeah, I'm with Booker T." He said, "What about Terry Tumey?" I said, "Well, I ain't gonna get him in Wichita, but he the real deal. He the real deal." So he goes, "John, you know, man, I don't know if he can play at Oklahoma." Well, this I knew. Oklahoma wasn't gonna get him no way. But man, Terry, you were John Randall before John Randall.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's high praise. That is
man. Oh man, Slim, he can flat go. I ain't lying. He can flat go.
Okay, Coach. So speaking of nose guard at Booker T. Washington, there's a certain spirit, like a certain swagger that comes along with being a Washington Hornet. And it's not only in athletics. I mean, you got John Hope Franklin, you got Charlie Wilson, Allen Heinberg, just to say the least, and nothing of the athletic greats. The Lockett family, for example, Wayne Tisdale, Granville Liggins, and Kenny Monday.
Yep.
So from Booker T. Washington, UCLA, how did we get there?
That's Slim. That's an interesting question, because when you talk about those great names, it does resonate with me, and the weight that goes on with being a Booker T. Washington Hornet. It's almost like you have a responsibility far greater than yourself in order to do things in the right way. And so because of that, it drives you to do just that little bit extra. When you talk about, those great players, I mean, I was coached by Bo Tiger, when I was in junior high school, and so going from Bo Tiger, Booger Paul Parker was a legend when I was in school. Ed Lacy, you talked about Tim Hooks. I mean, there were so many great people that came out of Booker T. You almost felt as though if you did not rise to a level of excellence, you weren't only letting yourself down, you were letting other people down. So that for me, and when you say going from Booker T to UCLA, I think the thing about it was at that point in time, the West Coast had not really had a piece of the specialness of what Booker T was all about. And I felt as though that was a frontier that needed to be explored. And so therefore, I took a chance to go out to UCLA.
Why not?
Wow.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And Coach McGee allowed me to do it. So he and Coach Dates, they both. I'll tell you, Coach Dates. I tell you that I had so many great men in my life that helped me, along with my father. But as we know, that there's a plethora of men that surround you and make you. Make you the man that you are. I mean, I sometimes I get tired of the rhetoric of black men not being around. I was blessed by so many black men. It was incredible.
Ooh, come on, preach, Rev. Come on,
Preach to the choir, Coach.
Yeah,
Preach to the choir.
Yeah. So
he's still here.
Absolutely. So no, even the great Guy Troop, his father, Coach Troop, was always around. So
I recruited Guy.
Yeah, you did.
Guy.
Hey, I remember
Kevin Rucker.
Yeah, him and Kevin Rucker. Yep, that's exactly right. Our fullback tailback. That's right. That's exactly right.
Man. So Terry, you finished your career as a player, all Pac-12. Then you go right into coaching, and you had a successful career in coaching. You coached at your alma mater. You coached D-line for the Denver Broncos. And you did, 8 years in the front office with the 49ers?
Right.
Why choose athletic administration?
That's an interesting question. It drove me when I was when I got through playing and got into coaching. I loved coaching. It kind of came upon me. It was kind of a little bit of happenstance. I was in business school at the time, and the business school gentleman who was coaching had left to take another position, which left my coach at the time, Terry Donahue, without a graduate assistant.
Okay.
And so he asked Terry, you're already in school. Would you like to be a graduate assistant? And I said, Coach, let me tell you something. This is not an average program. I mean, it's kicking my butt. I don't have time to coach because this is just too much for me. He said, I promise you, I know you can do this. We'll pay for your school. Try it.
Okay.
And I caught the bug. So I caught the bug and got into coaching from that vantage point. And you're right. It left me to some great opportunities with, I started out as an intern with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I went from the Chiefs to the Broncos. The Broncos, I got out of coaching and kind of tried to mix the business side of what I learned from business school with the athletic side of coaching. And that's how I got into administration at the professional level. But there was a void there, Coach, that was pretty evident. The NFL, I don't know if people realize this, the NFL is nothing but a collection of 32 amazingly wealthy individuals.
Okay.
That shield is nothing but 32 families who've come together and basically formed almost a monopoly of sort, and we call it oligopoly is what it is. All these groups come together, form a way of making money, and they control every piece of it. And so when you're working there, you're working there for the entertainment of a community or for the nation under their reign, which is, hey, it's a wonderful life, and they pay amazingly well. But at the time, I was going through a little bit of a epiphany of what am I really doing to change the lives and the trajectory of those young men I serve? I'm not really doing much other than entertaining people.
Come on now.
And because of that, it led me to college administration. So that's why I made the jump to be in college.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now,
plain.
It's plain.
Plain.
Make that plain,
Coach.
Yeah. Make that plain, and surely you're in it for the right reasons. So Terry, now I know the rules of engagement, especially in D1. Okay, job come open. You need a football coach. You need a basketball coach. You the King Shaka-Boo-Boo at Fresno State. You the AD. So job come open. We form a committee.
Right.
Then we have a chairman of the committee.
Right.
Okay. And they gonna report to you, and you gonna report that to the president.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna make a selection and fill this job.
Right.
Okay. So now what I need to know and would like to know, and tell our audience, because I know you're good at this and you've been around, you said the strong black men that influenced you, strong men in general that influenced you, Coach Lacey, Larry McGee, and the number goes, Ava Fisher.
Absolutely. Barbara Coleman.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. The Yale family. People, yeah, you got it. Yeah.
All these people
helped
shape you at Booker T. Washington. Now you're at Fresno State. And the committee has made their selection on the strength of your ability to evaluate and know people. Do you ever take it upon yourself to say, well, okay, I'm going to dig a little deeper and see what's up?
Absolutely. You have to. Because at the end of the day, it's a scorecard. And that scorecard is going to be linked to you regardless of whether you think it is or not. You're going to be, those wins or how that program is managed is going to be linked to you and your administration. And so therefore, even though I love the academy, I love the academic side of the house and what they do. And the committees that you talk about traditionally have one or two academics on it, because we try to have the semblance of, I'm just going to call it what it is, the semblance of academic, integrity in our interview process. It has to be there because we're still in a collegiate model, not an amateur model, but a collegiate model. So therefore you still have to have that. But at the end of the day, Coach, you and I both know that because how we evaluate, we know people.
There you go.
We know people, and we have certain things that we need to see. You know what? I almost kind of like to call it the hidden curriculum.
Okay.
I need to see what is there that most people don't see. Okay. And I do that by, I'll talk to players. I'll talk to former people who I know in the network that have coached with them.
Okay.
And many times what that does is it gives me an insight as to what this individual truly is about.
Okay.
So before I even make that recommendation to my president, which is ultimately the president has to co-sign on everything. We all recognize this, but you and I both know if you have a great working relationship with your president, most of the time, whoever you recommend, that will be the selection. It will be, but you must build that trust with him first, he or she first. And therefore there can be no mistakes as it relates to hiring. And so it becomes, that's where it becomes an interesting process, because you also have a responsibility, in my opinion, to give people who are sometimes not the most likely of candidate some opportunities to see what the experience is like and possibly land a gig.
Okay, come on now.
You know, so we do a lot of that as well. So I interview a ton of people who probably should not be, or most people would say should not be in the process, because I love to see my committee say, oh, I didn't really think that person was going to be that good. I was like, I know you didn't.
Okay.
I know you didn't think that person was going to be that good, but that's why they're here, you know, because they are that good. You know, many people don't realize, you know, when Mike Tomlin got the job with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he didn't interview as a head guy. He was interviewing as the defensive back coach, and he blew their socks off as to how good he was.
That's right.
Therefore, they said, why are we even talking about this young man as a DB coach? That's a head coach.
That's a head coach.
And so that's how he got that gig. You know, and he had been through so many great coaches. You know, Lovey was a part of the staff that he was on. You know, of course, you know, there were so many great people around him that he took it to a whole new level. I mean, he's a phenomenal leader of men, leader of people. It's not just men, leader of people. But Mike Tomlin, that's a story that he was in that way. I know even my teammate was in that situation. Carl Durrell, when he got the job at the Denver Broncos, he wasn't expected to be in that space, but he kind of just shocked him. He went in as a quality control guy. Next thing you know, he's the wide receiver coach. You know, so it's amazing how if you give people opportunities and let them show their true talents, how they can surprise you at times.
Yeah. And you touched on a very good point there, Terry. A lot of times, and Mike Tomlin was a perfect example. We go on aesthetics, the resume and what would appear to the eye.
Right.
And you know what? There's a one of my favorite passages of scriptures when God assigned Samuel to go to Jesse's house to find a new king. And then he got to Jesse's house, knocked on the door, and the first good-looking guy stood there, and Samuel said, "Oh, surely this is the son." Yeah, surely this is the one. And he didn't pass the test. And God said, "No, you understand something. You go by what you see. God says, I go by the heart." And the one that he had in mind was the one out there tending them sheep. The ruddy little guy tending them to the sheep, and that was David. But he didn't pass the eyeball test initially, but that was who was already appointed to be the king. And you are finding kings at Fresno State because you're going past what appears to the eye.
Oh, I appreciate that scripture. I appreciate that passage because that means I'm having some likeness to our Heavenly Father. So that's a blessing. So I appreciate that. I didn't know I was doing it. So, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Y'all inspired, right, Coach?
I am. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good right now. That's right.
Now, Terry.
Yes, sir.
You're the AD at Fresno State University. This is a Division I school. Golf don't make no money. Track don't make no money. Y'all play real good baseball. Historically, you played real good baseball at Fresno State, but that ain't a big money. Bowling, tennis, men and women, these sports don't make no money. How do you juggle all that and keep that afloat? Are NILs a thing you welcome at Fresno State? Expound on that.
Absolutely. So the first thing we have to always recognize is the economic model of collegiate athletics. And I say that because I truly do expect all of my coaches to recognize the golden calf. They need to understand. I'm not saying that football is more important than any other sport, but we must recognize what we can monetize. Okay. And I can monetize football.
Okay.
We all recognize that even the greatest basketball seasons that you may have will pale in comparison to a 8-5 football program. Because at that point in time, I've got 6 events that will probably have upwards of 35 to 40,000 people at them. Of those 40,000 people, I got tickets, I got media rights, I've got concessions, I've got parking, I got luxury suites, I've got luxury boxes, I got people consuming entertainment under the guise of this university. So therefore, I don't have anything else that will bring that magnitude of light to this institution. So every coach here at Fresno State recognize, doesn't mean that we're not abiding by Title IX. It doesn't mean that we're not abiding by the importance. I value every championship,
Okay.
but they also recognize that if we have a great fall, we're going to have a great winter and we're going to have a great spring.
Okay.
A great fall leads to greatness throughout the year. So in order to do that, Coach, one of the things you recognized a long time ago, and Slim, I know you know this as well, John Wooden was a great coach, but it was amazing how much better he got when he got Kareem.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It was incredible how he looked after he had players. So players nowadays are much smarter than we were, Coach. They understand their power and their voice and the magnitude with which they have, and therefore I look at it now as these players, these student athletes, are more entrepreneurial.
Mm.
They're looking to monetize their opportunities, and their opportunities don't have to wait until they graduate and go off to the pros. They start in high school. So perfect example. We had two young women here. Now they've left us. They left us this year, but they were called the Cavender sisters. Okay, They were two 5'6", blonde-haired little women who played basketball and were pretty good basketball players. They're very competitive. I mean, really competitive. But what they were really known for is they were twins and they were TikTok sensations. And they literally had over 3 million followers on TikTok.
Wow.
Okay? So these women, while they were here, when NIL broke into the scene, and California, our governor was the first one to really kind of blow it up and say he went on the barbershop and said, "Hey, California is going to let this NIL thing happen with the Alston case." And so we were one of the first ones. And so these women, once NIL hit, it was almost like they knew exactly the time and date. They were in Madison. They were in Times Square with a T-Mobile ad behind them, and they said, "Welcome to NIL." And they were the first ones to really blow that thing up to where this past year, while they were here at Fresno State, these women were pulling 7 figures here.
What?
2 women basketball players were pulling 7 figures here. They had stuff with T-Mobile. They had the WWE. They were doing stuff with them. They were doing underwear stuff. They were monetizing all over the place.
My goodness.
And now so because of that, it was great for us. We're a mid-major, right? So we're in Fresno, small institution. But they used that as their platform. It helped us. The university did benefit. I always want to tell people that do not discount the amount of exposure this institution gets by these young people.
Absolutely.
Using their name, image, and likeness. But they use that platform to now they're at the University of Miami, and as we know, South Beach, all the things that go on there. I wish them nothing but the best because they've made us better.
Yeah. No question.
But yeah, so that has helped me though, Coach, in the fact that because we've had NIL experience at a grand stage, recruits look at us and say, we can do that at Fresno State.
Absolutely. And that can't help but be your school.
Yeah. So therefore I can get more kids. I can get more players, and hopefully they can show their wares, and we can grow successfully together, not just for coaches and the institution.
Well, Terry, my brother, you have made Fresno State better, and you have certainly made HomeSpun Sports better.
No doubt, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. I appreciate you.
We were delighted to have you, man, and do what God is doing with you, bro. From Tulsa, Booker T. Washington, man, all the way to this, and he ain't through with either one of us.
No, he's not. No, he's not. And I definitely want to give a shout out to HomeSpun Sports because I really feel the platform that you're putting out there is so amazing. It's so incredible. I've listened to a variety of different episodes, and it is outstanding. It's outstanding what you're doing, man. It's something that I don't know. I think everyone they need to understand that the journey is not as big as you think. everybody can be on this journey as long as you stay focused and kind of stay to the course. You can get to where you want to go. And what you're doing, Coach, is sharing stories of how people have got to where they want to go. And I'm not done yet. Neither are you. And we're all still works in progress. So we're going to continue to move forward.
With a twist, Coach.
Ain't no question, bro. Terry, man,
right.
listen, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Gary told me, said, man, when you get on there now with Terry Tumey, so you got to tell him, I said, hey, your boy Gary McGee.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I made a little change with Garrett. You know, I used to babysit Garrett. I made a little change with babysitting Garrett. That was my guy. Now he's big time now, but I used to babysit him back in the day.
Wow. I don't think he wanted you to tell all that, but that's the shout out, Gary.
Oh, no, it's out there now, Coach.
You know, we all start somewhere, man. I had to make a little money, you know.
Ain't no question. Love you, Terry. Thanks, man.
Much love to you, and hey, have a blessed Memorial Day, and I so appreciate you, fellas. God bless you.
Appreciate you,
Coach.
Yeah, my brother.
Thank you.
Wow.
He was the babysitter.
Now, believe me when I tell you, dog. He whipped most double teams, and one-on-one was a mismatch. That dude, he was tackle for loss. That's what he was, tackle for loss. Terry Tumey was a terror at Tulsa.
215.
He was the real deal. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time again for Slim's Pickings. Go ahead, bro.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
While it's only OTAs, organized team activities, Dallas Cowboys undrafted free agent Marquise Bell is making quite an impression. The rookie out of FAMU intercepted a 98-yard pass and ran it back for a touchdown. And, you know, Coach McCarthy, head football coach at the Dallas Cowboys, said he's really been impressive. I mean, he really jumped out at rookie camp. One man's salt is another man's sugar. And with that being said, congratulations to Damon Wilson, who, after leading 12 seasons at Bowie State, leading them to an 89-45 record, who will now be taking over head football coach at a Morgan State University program. Now, this Morgan State University program, in the past 2 seasons, under the direction of former head football coach Tyrone Wheatley, the Bears have finished 5-18 and 3-10 against the MEAC opponents. In fact, Morgan State has not had a winning record since 2009, and they have not been at or above 500 since 2015. So good luck, Coach Damon Wilson. You're gonna need it. Tuskegee head football coach and athletic director Reginald Ruffin suggested that it would be good. It would be a great idea, both culturally and economically, if the University of Alabama would play some of the FCS HBCU schools in the state of Alabama, Alabama A&M and Alabama State. Coach Ruffin's comments were met with sharp criticism and even death threats. Some Crimson Tide enthusiasts accuse Coach Ruffin of extortion. Another Tide loyalist told Coach Ruffin, just watch yourself there, buddy. Now, I wonder what that meant. Stay tuned, sports fans. And that's Slim's Pickings.
Hell of a job. Slim, Marquise Bell, a lot of people had him picked to go anywhere between round 5 and round 7 in the draft. He's at the Cowboys as an undrafted free agent. But Slim, that young man, 6'2", 215, 20 pounds. He's fearless. He's fast. He's tough. You can do a lot of things with a guy like that. I'm reminded of Cam Chancellor of the Seattle Seahawks. He'll hit you like lightning struck a stump. And Doug Williams say he can outrun a Yoni go. And more than that, he fits schematically what Dallas wants to do. And if he does not make the Cowboys, he'll be on somebody's roster by opening day in the National Football League. I think you brought up a very good point. I'm glad you mentioned that because it was on the news, and I saw it on HBCU Sports about how the death threats made against our good and dear friend Reggie Ruffin. Understand this. It's good business sense for Alabama, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, to play the two 1AA football programs in the state of Alabama, the Hornets of Alabama State, the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. Make good sense monetarily, certainly makes good sense monetarily. It makes good sense culturally. The University of Alabama could play Alabama A&M, could pay Alabama A&M and Alabama State 1.5 million like a drop in the bucket.
With ease, coach.
And Slim, Alabama gave Austin Peay a bone this year. They playing them,
coach. And we've all known Nick Saban to be generous when it comes to throwing a dub to somebody in exchange for some money. Kent State
for a win.
Yeah, for a win. He scheduled Kent State, and that's only because it was his alma mater.
That's right. He played Kent State, and he paid them. So do something for these HBCU.
It also would be a good thing for Nick Saban now to play Alabama A&M and Alabama State for healing. Because Lord knows he can certainly use that, especially after this Deion Sanders fiasco.
Man, listen, Nick Saban put his foot yard deep in his mouth, and exactly, it would serve as a healing balm. And he ought to do that. And the fact that somebody would even threaten Reggie Ruffin for suggesting it says just how far we have yet to go. No question. Exactly. No question. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of football, coach, Colin Kaepernick tried out for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know you saw that last week. He tried out for the Vegas Raiders. Do you think Kaepernick is serious, coach?
I do. I do think he's serious this time. This time, I think he's serious. But more than that, Slim, Colin Kaepernick is frustrated. Okay? And here's why he's frustrated. Colin Kaepernick is frustrated because he stood, or in this case, kneeled on the promise of the American Constitution.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Okay? The American Constitution, okay, says that the greatness of this country is the right to stand and protest for what is right. Hear me. Colin Kaepernick is frustrated because he stood on the promise of the Constitution. Colin Kaepernick, all he got for it was 6 years of his prime stripped from him. Okay?
Like Ali.
Here's a fact. Here's a fact. Any way you slice it up, Colin Kaepernick was kneeling in protest because of the reality of police brutality against people of color in this country. Plain and simple.
Say that, coach.
Plain and simple. And he has been ostracized and blackballed because of it. Okay? And the Constitution says it's his right to protest for right. And so he's frustrated. But more than that, anybody, black, white, brown, yellow, blue, or green, who is a champion for justice in this country is also frustrated, because the bottom line, Slim, the NFL is lying.
You were lying your ass off.
They lying.
Cap.
They lying,
They
coach.
lying. Slim. Painted on, stenciled in the end zones of all 32 teams across the
In
country.
racism.
In racism. Hold up. And Colin Kaepernick can't get a job. Listen. Colin Kaepernick, understand something. He's 34 years old now. Okay. But once upon a time, Colin Kaepernick could play. I'm talking about play.
Could play.
Slam. In college at the University of Nevada, 2-time WAC Offensive Player of the Year. He was selected high in the draft, pick number 36 in the second round. He led the 49ers to Super Bowl 47. They lost 34-31, almost beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and that was 2013. Slim, in 2014, he signs a contract for $126 million, $54 million of it conditionally guaranteed, and
13 fully.
And 13 fully guaranteed. Now,
Yeah.
it's Slim. That's big money right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So Colin Kaepernick could play once upon a time. Okay. So yeah.
But more than that, coach, I mean, anytime, you know, there's 70% of the NFL is over over 70% of the league is African American.
That's right.
And then you have to invent a Rooney Rule.
Thank you.
The Rooney Rule came in 2006, right, Coach?
No, 2003. It was
2003.
It was adopted by the National Football League in 2003. Okay. And right now, going into the 2022 season, okay, we got 3 that I'm talking about to the eye.
Three that look like you and me, and three more of minorities.
Mike Tomlin,
Steelers.
Todd Bowles, and Lovie Smith. Now,
Yes,
if you will say coaches of color, you got to include them three other brothers. Ron Rivera at the Washington Commanders. You got to include Robert Sealer at the New York Jets, and you got to include Mike McDaniel
at the Dolphins,
at the Miami Dolphins. Okay,
yeah.
But that don't give us but 6, Slim. So the NFL is lying.
6 out of 32, Coach.
Okay, they're still lying. Hey Slim, this whole thing with this, did you see where they are having this accelerator program?
I did, Coach. Eric Bieniemy and your boy
Brian Leftwich,
and yes, invited to be a part of the first annual NFL Accelerator program.
Yeah,
first annual, Coach.
Yeah, first ever. So, and I think it's a good thing. I really do. Understand this, Mildred. People hire who they know. People hire who they feel comfortable with. Okay. Now, they went on to invite a number of other people to this accelerator program.
Not only seniors, Coach, they invited 2 other women, Kelly Clean, the Broncos director of football ops, and Jacqueline Davidson, the director of football programming at Denver.
Okay, but understand the main thing behind that, Slim. Last year, during the hiring and firing, okay, the number 1 African American that everybody felt like was going to have a shot to get a job was Byron Leftwich. Okay,
right.
First round pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars coming out of Marshall. Offensive coordinator at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's coaching Tom Brady. He won a Super Bowl. He's a hot item. Byron Leftwich gonna get the Jacksonville job. Didn't happen. The other guy who ever since Patrick Mahomes been doing his thing in Kansas City, lighting up the scoreboard, everybody had who as a candidate? Thank you. Eric Bieniemy. He ain't got one yet. People hire who they know. So now, okay, they disguising it by inviting women and all these other folks to this accelerator program. But the main thing is they bringing them 2 brothers up there to get to know them better. They gonna hobnob and have dinner with them. Hell, they might even go play a little golf with them. But people hire who they know, Mildred.
Rub shoulders. Rub shoulders, coach.
So I'm hoping that something positive comes out of that for those two guys. They're most deserving, and they've been ready.
So now, coach, speaking of the NFL, did you heard they intend to file a motion against Brian Flores, an arbitration lawsuit? The NFL has denied all discrimination claims, and it wants to shift the lawsuit into arbitration or
Arbitration.
an alternative, dismiss the amended complaints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Two things about that, and you just said the two words you mentioned. Number one, shift. Number two, dismiss. I'm going to tell you one word that the NFL does not want going on concerning this whole Brian Flores lawsuit. Transparency.
Like glass.
No. The NFL right now is scared of Brian Flores as a possum is an axe handle. You hear me? They don't want transparency. They want to shut the door, sit down, meet privately with Brian Flores, pay him, Slim, $200 million, $300 million, $400 million. That ain't a drop in the bucket to them owners. They don't want to be embarrassed. Because here's what they know. If they're transparent, Stephen Ross could lose his team.
Yeah.
He offered Brian Flores $100,000 a game to lose on purpose.
Yeah.
/ fix games. They don't want to be transparent. No, they don't want to be transparent. So yeah, I saw it, and I certainly hope that Brian Flores and his legal defense team hold true to their guns and force this thing to go to court, because they're lying. Again, this goes back to lying. This whole thing about going to arbitration, Slim, is an admission of guilt. If you know you're right, let's go to court. If you know you're
right, let it go. Keep going. Keep fighting.
If you know you're right, let's go to court, get everything I know. But no. They want to shut the door and see, can they buy him out? Okay? That's all about. Ain't no question.
Well, Coach, look, it was a pleasure being. Oh, Coach, we got hoops to talk about. And it's going on right now. It's game 7. We are back in Miami. The Boston Celtics are taking on the Miami Heat right now. Coach, who you got coming out this series?
Man, Slim, shame on Boston. Shame on Boston. You had a chance to wrap it up, and it's 55-49 at the half. Boston's up. But I'm going to tell you, in my take on it, it don't make no difference who wins, Miami or Boston. Boy, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the agitator, Draymond Green, they out there. Hey, Slim, they done had a week to rest, and they gonna whip whoever comes out of the East like they stole their ham from Kroger. Remember where you heard it.
You ain't gonna get no argument from me there, Coach. But look, it was a pleasure being in the studio with you again, man. You know, it was amazing. Terry Tumey was great, and I look forward to having him on again, Coach.
Man, we got to get Terry back on, man, and thank you so much, Terry, for being our guest on show number 36. Slim, give my love, man, to everybody up in good old Dale City, Oklahoma.
Tell my lover.
Yeah, man, I will,
All
brother.
Right.
Peace and blessings. Take care. And finally, last night, as I watched Gervonta Davis decapitate Ronaldo Romero in the 6th round.
Previous fights we've seen that he seems kind of awkward, but in this fight he's not looking. There's a big left hand, and down goes Romero.
I have not seen devastated left hand power in a fighter since the great Joe Frazier.
Time is important here.
Gervonta Davis showed class. He showed dignity in his post-game interview. And now as he breaks away from Floyd Mayweather and takes charge of his career in terms of booking fights, I can only wish him the best. God bless you, Javante Davis. I'm pulling and praying for you. And hey, that's how I see it. 6 o'clock, straight up and down.
Coach, he dropped him like a sack of rocks. I mean, ooh, that left. Ooh, Coach, it looked like Joe Frazier dropped Ali.
Ooh, he hit that dude. No kidding. Yeah, man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we see it, and that's how it is. Thank God we get to do this again.
Thank God.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Homespun Sports. Sports talk with a twist.
It's a twist. Just
of down home wisdom. Make sure not to only catch this episode on YouTube, but on Spotify and iHeartRadio for your listening and your viewing pleasure. We thank Coach Terry Tumey for not only being for being our guest on today's show. We look forward to a healthy relationship with you in the future, sir. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to turn on that bell so you don't miss any of our notifications when they come out to you. They're all live, they're all for real, and they're all for you. Let's go ahead and get up out of here, man.
Yeah, man. You ain't said no more word until I see you again, my friend. What he said.